Chapter 7. Clearwater State Hospital transcript, a videotaped recording of Zach's second session with Dr. Curtis. Dr. Curtis holds a photo album that Zach seems to recognize. Your mom brought this in. She thought it might help you remember who you are. They look at the photographs in Zach's family album. After a while, Zach starts to cry. That's not me, he says. Not anymore. The phone rings. This time I just leave it alone. Frosty picks it up and says, hello? Frosty is quiet a few moments. Now he yells back. Back off! We're working on it! Then he says, a couple of times nodding his head. Now he says, I'm 16. Why? Frosty listens for a couple seconds. Then he says, Bull! You'll try us as adults. I see that all the time in the newspaper. Hell, last year, you guys wanted to try a 9-year-old as an adult. A couple of years ago, I remember, summer they executed a 15-year-old. Frosty listens again for a while, and now he says, Oh, you promise, huh? What's that supposed to mean to me? Will you put it in writing? He hesitates for a few seconds and says, I'll think about it. He listens some more. Now he says, No, really, I mean it. Back off, and I'll think about it. Frosty says, Okay, a few more times. Yeah, I got it. He hangs up the phone and just stares at the floor. All of us sit and stare at him. Finally, Frosty turns to Stormy and says, The cops say they won't charge us with kidnapping if we let everyone go in the next 10 minutes. They also say they won't charge us as adults, which means that maybe we won't do jail time, or at least not as much. They say they'll charge us as juveniles. Frosty says, I blurt out, like juvenile delinquents. Frosty says, Yeah, Zach, just like juvenile delinquents. Real life, kidnapping, gun toting, coffee shop robbing, JDs. Okay, shut up, okay? I say, okay. Stormy says to Frosty, 10 minutes? Yeah, Frosty answers. Stormy asks, and they'll put it in writing? Yep, Frosty says, but then he adds, of course, we don't know what that means exactly. They could just tear it up once everybody is free and they've got us, right? I mean, if we ask for a lawyer, how do we know they won't just take some cop, hide a gun on him, and he'll waltz in here and blow us away? We don't know any lawyers. Johnny Cochran probably isn't available, and Mom sure doesn't know any lawyers. Stormy says, Mom? Are the cops going to tell Mom? Frosty sighs and says to Stormy, Yeah, I'm sure they will once they get us. I mean, come on, think about it. I don't want them to tell Mom, Stormy answers. He looks again like he might start to cry. Then he says, she'll blame herself. Yeah, I know, Frosty says, but we can't do anything about it. The whole thing was one dumb idea. Stormy says, she's too sick. Just don't think about it, okay? Frosty interrupts, we'll figure it out later. Right now, we got to find some way to get out of this. Stormy nods, but I think he's still upset because he keeps staring at the floor and won't look up. The skinny suit says, my brother-in-law's a lawyer. Frosty looks at him and says, Great, good for him. How's that help us? The skinny suit says maybe he'd come down and witness the agreement. Make sure the police do what they say they're supposed to do. Frosty thinks about this for a second and asks, What kind of lawyer is he? Skinny says, he does probate and estate planning, so that when you pass away, your relatives can inherit your property while minimizing their tax burden. And Frosty yells, We don't need any help making out our will, and we're not dead yet. Skinny shuts up. The phone rings. Frosty snatches it up real quick. Listen, he yells. We're talking about what to do. Where? He stops suddenly. His face turns real red. I'm sorry, he says. No, ma'am. His voice sounds different. Quiet now. No, ma'am. He's fine. Honest. I'm sorry, he says. Then, yes, he's right here. The next thing, Frosty turns to me. He puts his hand over the phone and whispers, Sorry, Zach. He sounds like he's just had a bad spanking. It's your mom. And that's the end of chapter 7.